I could have been top of our subscriber table 2 weeks in a row if it wasn't for those meddling kids. Well, fully grown man. That's right, this is Premier League Predictor, the series where we take on each other in predicting the Premier League scores each and every game week. Make sure you pause the video right now because the rules are on the screen. Without further ado, let's get into Game Week 14, my personal results. So you can see the predictions that I made last game week here, and I did alright. I didn't do too badly. I got the Arsenal Forest game spot on, which is quite funny because a guy commented on one of my YouTube shorts, which I believe was the predictions from this game week, and he went, I would love an Arsenal 5-0 win, thanks for predicting this into the future. I was like, I've got you, mate. We've got the 5-0 win. It is there. A couple of results I didn't expect to happen. Brighton beating Chelsea, for example, was pretty shocking. But overall, I think I did pretty well here. 9 points in total. And the reason I feel like I did well is because only one person has managed to beat me this week. If you want to be included in the competition this week, when I'm doing my predictions later on in the video, make sure you're getting your predictions in the comments down below so that I can use them and work out the scores and all that jazz, and you'll be featured in the video next week. And here are the subscribers that took part last week, and yeah, I thought I was doing pretty well. I, got 9 points. I was doing Wilfs, Timos, MW2s, Stybens, Annies. All their points were done, and I was like, you know what? I think I've probably won this week. It's all happy days. Then Ben comes in with 2 correct scores and 2 correct results. That's not even right, is it? It was 3 correct scores and 1 correct result, I believe. No, I've put that wrong on the screen, haven't I? It's 2 scores, 6 results. I think so, anyway. Either way, he got 16 points, which is pretty incredible for a Premier League predictor. And the more I look at it now, the more there is a slight chance that I've actually got that wrong. If I did, then you know what? Ben needs to pick me up. He's finished bottom the last 2 weeks. So you know what? He can have first place out of pity, if anything. I got 9 points, obviously. Wilf got 6 points with 6 correct results. Timo, MW2 and Stuyben all finished on 5 points. MW2, a new person to the series, so welcome in. Hope you're good. Annie got 4 points and sat at the bottom. So she needs to perform a little bit better if she's going to catch up with her future husband, Ben, who's apparently at the top of the league. I'm worried I've got that wrong, but I'm going to leave it there because you know what? After his recent performances, he needs this. As I said, guys, if you want to see yourself on the subscriber results table that may or may not be correct, then all you need to do is get your predictions in the comments down below as I do my predictions. Speaking of which, here they are. Whilst I am going through my predictions, if you could do me a very big favour and hit a thumbs up on this video, it'd be much appreciated. I've loved the support that this series and my career mode of foot series have been getting over the last few months, and I just want it to keep growing. Keep this snowball rolling down that hill, and by the end of the year, we could have something really big. First game is Leeds up against Bournemouth, both teams of which had a decent game week last week. Bournemouth did get a defeat, but it was a very, very hard-fought contest up against Spurs, and it was a very decent fixture in the end. They actually only lost 3-2. It was a very close game. Leeds got their first win in 6 matches, and it was up against Liverpool, which is, they're becoming the team that's easy to beat by the looks of it, Liverpool. So that's a guaranteed point if you predict against them this week. I think both Leeds and Bournemouth are very much as they are, really. There's only a very slight difference between their recent records. Both teams have won 1 game. Bournemouth have just drawn 1 more than Leeds have. So they're pretty even at the moment, sat in 14th and 15th place in the league. I think this is going to be a close game. I think there's not much between them at all. So I'm going with a 1-1 draw. It's going to be one of those fixtures that is, I believe, the first fixture of this weekend. Is not the most interesting one. Every season there will be a surprise package in the Premier League that, start the season really well and find themselves in the top half of the table when you don't feel like they should be there. Fulham are that team. They are still clinging on though. They're currently in 7th position. They haven't had a great record of late, although in the last 4 games they've won 2 of them and drawn the other 2. So they're unbeaten in 4, but they had lost 2 games previous to that. They're still sat in 7th place, and I'm not really sure how they're doing it, but for some reason they still are. They're still clinging on. Are they going to be clinging on after this week? I don't know, if I'm honest, because they got Manchester City, and if Fulham lose and the 3 teams below them win, they will end up in 10th, which would be a bit more realistic for their finishing position this season, and that would still be a very good campaign for them. They're coming up against a Manchester City team that are chasing Arsenal every single match, and Arsenal got a difficult fixture this week, as you can see, up against Chelsea. So Man City will want to make sure they definitely get the points on the board. I'm going for a pretty straightforward win. If Haaland is back, this scoreline would probably change quite drastically, and I think that he could potentially contribute a few more goals to this scoreline. But I've gone with 2-0. I think that it's going to be a pretty straightforward game for City at home, but if they don't have Haaland, I don't think they'll have the firing power that we're used to. Brentford aren't on a great run of form. They've won 1 in the last 6 and lost 2 of them. They're up against Nottingham Forest, who are, of course, at the bottom of the league and still look to be quite a way off the other teams in this league. I just think that obviously they joined the Premier League, they made stupid amounts of signings in the summer, and it just hasn't gelled yet. Whether it will or not, who knows, but at this moment in time, it just isn't working. I'll go for an away win to Brentford. I've gone for 1-0. I think it'll be a reasonably tight game, and I'm going to put it out there. I think Ivan Toney's going to get the goal. He's still going to be impressing, or trying to impress, on the lead up to that England squad announcement, so we will see if he makes the cut, but I think that, you know, he's got a decent chance if he keeps popping a goal in every week, so fingers crossed for him. Brighton were on a pretty poor run of form until they went up against Chelsea and won miraculously last game week, so them visiting Wolves isn't going to be a straightforward fixture as we maybe think. However, I do think the last performance up against Chelsea will give them a bit of a confidence boost, and I think they still will feel like they can go to Wolves and get the points. I've gone for 2-1 to Brighton. I don't think it's going to be straightforward by any means. It'll be a very close game, but I think that the confidence they've built from that Chelsea fixture is probably going to help them get through. Wolves are currently sat 19th. They're very much in trouble now. I think we're far enough into the season that you've got to think as a Wolves fan that relegation could be a possibility. They need to pick up some results. They've only picked up 4 points in the last 6 games. So obviously that's a possible of 33 points, and they've only managed to get 6, which obviously isn't great. No, it's not. That's a complete lie. It's a possible of 18 points, and they've picked up 4, which isn't great. Good maths there, Matt. We'll try and pass through that one as quickly as possible. I do think it'll be a straightforward win, though, and that 2-1 prediction to the away side, Brighton, is probably a strong one. Everton versus Leicester is next. Leicester, obviously, are still sat pretty low down the Premier League table, but their form has been better of late, winning half of their last 6 games. They went up against Manchester City last time out, and they only lost 1-0. It was a very decent performance from the Leicester side, and I still feel like there is something coming for Leicester. They will turn their season around. I don't think they're going to be in a relegation battle with Wolves come May. So you can only anticipate that they're going to start picking up more points. Now, Everton have done very well to kind of build their way up the league, but they have lost at 3 out of the last 6. You could possibly sway towards a Leicester win here, but I still think they're just churning out results. They're not convincing at all yet. They've still got things within their game that they need to work on, and I think that they're going to at least be able to get a point up against Everton in this match. So I've gone for the board draw. This is going to be their board draw this week, 0-0 between Everton and Leicester. Easily the biggest fixture this weekend is Chelsea up against Arsenal. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Manchester City want to get points on the board because Arsenal could trip up here. Playing against Chelsea is probably one of the hardest fixtures they will have at this point in the season. Chelsea did lose their last game, but they were unbeaten in 5 previous to that. Arsenal have only dropped 2 points in the last 6 games. So out of 18 points, they've only dropped 2, which is very, very impressive. And I got the maths right that time. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see myself out. I think it'll be straightforward again. I can only see Arsenal really getting a win here. It's the hardest fixture they're going to come up against for a while, but I'm going for 2-0 to Arsenal. I just believe this side is a bit special. They have lost a game already this season, but they're not going to be invincible. They're not going to be the best Arsenal team to ever win the league, but I genuinely am backing Arsenal to win the Premier League. So I'm going to stand by that. They're going to get the 3 points against Chelsea with a 2-0 away win. And I just feel like they're a special squad. I feel like they're what we need to get rid of the likes of Manchester City in this league. They've built a squad the correct way with a manager that they've backed through thick and thin. And now they're reaping the rewards. And I really want to support that. Now, I am making this prediction before Manchester United's Europa League tie up against Sociedad, is it? Which is a massive game because they actually genuinely desperately need to win that game to not have to go into a playoff against a Champions League game, Champions League team, sorry. I think they've actually got to win by 2 goals. So you guys will know the result of that now, but I don't know that making this prediction. So they could be going into this game up against Aston Villa with confidence, or they could be going in knowing that they're going to have a difficult time in Europe going forward. Now, Aston Villa have only won 1 game in the last 6. United are on a very decent 5-game unbeaten run. I think that Man United have seen Newcastle go above them in the last game week. They do have a game in hand on Newcastle, but Newcastle have pushed into the top 4. Very well deserved, by the way. And I think United are going to want to keep up with them. They're not going to want to slip down to the Chelsea, Liverpool sort of area of the table where you're kind of, oh, we're battling for 5th now sort of feeling. So, with that being said, Newcastle United, they're up against Southampton this week. We'll see what I predict that in a second. But Manchester United, I think, will get the win against Villa. Villa, obviously, are probably involved in that Wolverhampton Wanderers Southampton relegation battle come the end of the season. With probably Bournemouth and potentially Leeds getting dragged in there as well. I think that Manchester United aren't going to help Aston Villa at all this week. It's going to be 3-1 to Man United as an away win. I think Villa will probably give them a scare early doors, but Manchester United will come out convincing winners in the end. Southampton, as I said, are very much in that relegation battle. They've only won 1 game in the last 6, and they're going up against a Newcastle side who have only dropped 2 points out of the last 18. They've won 5 games out of 6 to put them into the top 4 and cement themselves as a big club, you know, a successful club, we'll say, within the Premier League. Could be very interesting indeed. I can't wait to see how the end of this season finishes and to see whether Newcastle United have actually done enough to kind of cement themselves as a top 4 side following the acquisition, and they haven't spent massive amount of money. They've just built the squad the way they should be, which I really, really like. So yeah, Newcastle up against Southampton, straightforward win for me. I think it'll be a 3-0 victory. Is going to be easily the most straightforward fixture of the week, in my opinion, even more so than City versus Fulham. So yeah, Newcastle are walking this one, no worries at all. And I think that out of there was 8 players that the Premier League gave and EA Sports gave that you could vote for Player of the Month in the Premier League. I think Newcastle had 3 out of the 8 players, which is mental. Every single week, I'm like, West Ham United, this is their week. They're getting their season back on track. They're going to be challenging for Europe. And every week, I'm like, it didn't quite work out, did it? They're up against Crystal Palace this week, who are actually in touching distance of them. So, with a win, West Ham could leapfrog Crystal Palace and go above them in the league. Do I think that's going to happen? Unfortunately, I don't. I think this will probably end up in a draw. It's going to be a tight game. I'm just going back to remind myself how these guys got on last week. West Ham United lost 1-0 to Man United, of course. That was a very tight fixture. Crystal Palace beat Southampton. So there's not much to take from those 2 results as momentum or not momentum. They're kind of even, really. One got a win and one lost, but did put in a very good performance. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think it's going to be very even. I don't think there's much to really say between these 2 teams at the moment. West Ham have played 1 game more than Crystal Palace, which will have an impact later on in the Premier League season. Obviously, Crystal Palace could catch them up if it does go down to that. But overall, West Ham are the better side. They just haven't gelled as well as they should have done so far this season. It's a weird Premier League this year. It's one of the weirdest Premier Leagues I've seen for a while. So, yeah, it's interesting. But I'm going with the score draw at 2-2. You could argue that Spurs really should be in contention for the Premier League this season with the squad they've got And the fact that they're in 3rd place, but they've lost half of their last 6 games. They've lost 3 out of the last 6. Like, they really, really should be challenging for the league. But for some reason, they've just dropped off recently. They're going up against Liverpool. Now, we know the trouble Liverpool are having. They have only won 2 out of the last 6, drawn 1 and lost 3. They're really not playing well. It's quite similar, actually, form table between these two over the last 6 games. But Liverpool have looked poor. In the majority of the games they've played, they've looked very flaky at the back. Their midfield is weak. They're losing the ball a lot more than they used to. And they're not getting as many attacking opportunities as previous Liverpool sides. And I don't see that really changing this week. I think that Tottenham just have a better squad depth. They have an overall better squad this season. And I think they will see off Liverpool, and pretty convincingly. This is my outside shout for the week. Usually when it's 2 big teams going up against each other, I won't put in such a convincing win because I think it'd be closer. But I think Liverpool are that far off the pace so far this season in the Premier League that they will probably lose, and it could actually be quite convincing for Tottenham. I've gone for 3-0 to the home side. It's an outside shout, admittedly, but I do think there is a chance that that's how it will end, because Liverpool just don't look like a decent football team right now. So here's the roundup of the Game Week 15 Matt Ayres predictions for the Premier League this week. We've got 1-1 between Leeds United and Bournemouth. Man City to win 2-0 up against Fulham. Nottingham Forest to lose at home 1-0 to Brentford. Wolves to lose 2-1 to Brighton. Everton and Leicester is our board draw of the week. Arsenal to get an away win 2-0 against Chelsea. Man United to win 3-1 away at Aston Villa. Newcastle to win 3-0 away at Southampton. 2-2 between West Ham United and Crystal Palace, and Tottenham to win 3-0 convincingly against Liverpool. Remember, all you've got to do to get involved in this competition is comment your predictions down below. Doesn't matter if you've done previous weeks or not, you can still get involved and let us know what you think is going to happen this weekend. Make sure you get your predictions in before the first game kicks off in the game week, otherwise your predictions don't count basically. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did do so, then please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you've liked this video as well to help the channel go further. I will see you guys in the next one.